Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our morning coffee time for Friday, September the 4th. How is everybody? And how's everything looking and sounding? Let's see. We have 34 people and 2 thumbs up. So yeah, we have arrived at Friday. It's my first week back with this kind of weekday live streaming schedule that we're starting here in September. We'll see how it goes. I'm not much for the weekday, weekend kind of schedule, but I'm trying to live every day as it comes, one day at a time. And the challenge of overcoming dukkha is pretty 24/7 and persistent. So it's part of the reason why I like doing things daily and trying to learn the skill of how to meet life daily. But I do have to divide my time a little bit. So today be today's Friday's live stream, and tomorrow we still will have morning and chanting and meditation. So Saturday and Sunday morning we'll still continue doing that. And I saw a few more people participating in that this morning. We had a dozen friends on there, at least when I checked on it. So that offering is there. Help motivate people to sit in the morning and to give people a chance to practice chanting. So that will be daily. And for now, we'll see how doing these morning coffee times Monday through Friday go. And if I can resume to doing it daily at some point, I might do that, but I got to keep cranking on some other work. So, okay, well, I have one other reminder for people. This might be the last time I do this. I don't want to keep advertising and promoting these, but Ladawan Konkarat, our friend in the Seattle area, has made these masks, Pacific Hermitage 10th anniversary commemorative masks in blue and white. Blue is clearly the favorite. And if you live in the United States and not too close to the Hermitage, where you might be able to just come and get one directly from me at the Hermitage, then there's a post on our website, and you can contact Ladawan, and she'll be willing to send you a mask or two if you can provide the postage. So check into those details. So I started reading a new book that I've been waiting for from the library. Transcend, the new Science of Self-Actualization. Very strange book for a Buddhist to be reading. We're supposed to be overcoming the self, not actualizing it. But I heard an interview with the author a bit ago, and he sounds like a very interesting person and is conversant with Buddhism and humanistic psychology and Stoicism, which are all fields that have interested me in my adult life. And he's got a fresh uptake on the work of Abraham Maslow, who was quite an interesting figure in Western psychology. So that's what I'm reading these days. That and a few other things. A book on Japanese grammar. And I have a new Dhamma book that somebody gifted me as well. There's a phrase I came across early in the book, though, talking about his belief that everyone had the potential to self-actualize, though many people don't. And part of it is because of the habits, or they're overtaken by this kind of focus on discontent, if I remember the passage correctly, which maps quite nicely with my sense of the Buddhist teaching. And I think it's something that comes through strongly in the Pali Canon. There's a tremendous potential that we have to overcome suffering, and I believe that everyone has the potential to completely transcend the tendency to live beset by dukkha, as the Buddha defines it. Not necessarily an easy task and not something that most people will do in this very life, but that potential is there. And most people won't realize it because the way that we are oriented and caught in the world. In Buddhist cosmology, the human realm sits beneath the lower realms and the higher realms. It is this mixing of that which is a blessing and happy and that which is painful and suffering. Existing in that middle ground does open up the possibility to create tremendous goodness and that transcends the liability of dukkha. But only if one uses this opportunity carefully. And if we take to heart the meaning of what it means to be a Buddha as well, it's highly unlikely that we don't do so without the good friend, the Kalyanamitta, which is the Buddha and those who have walked in his footsteps and realized for themselves that freedom from dukkha. When I examine my own mind and how it is that dukkha arises or dukkha comes to be in my experience, so much of it is so closely bound up with this obsession with this world, the movement away from everything that we are trying to get back to through the cultivation of the good, what's called the kusala, and the kind of peace, freedom, equanimity that exists in the wisely informed meditative mind. And if you pay close attention, there's always some sign of discontent in the mind that seems to be playing a role in this movement away from the present moment and movement away from the holistic mind that is full of virtue and kindness and compassion and equanimity and a kind of grounded lucidity that we strive to touch and strive to develop a taste for in the meditative life. And it's this discontent, whether conscious or unconscious, that I believe plays such a critical role in the proliferative mind and the habits of thirsting. It doesn't necessarily need to be conscious, and quite often isn't. But if you examine sort of like where contentment, especially profound feelings of contentment, take us, they quite naturally release us from this obsession with the world of being and becoming, and constantly scheming and hankering for places and states and experiences and identities other than what can be realized in the here and now. So I think of this as a really fertile ground for cultivation, like learning to become sensitive to and mindfully aware of the rising of discontent in the mind and the role that it then plays into the world, and in particular the world of dukkha. And then coming to our senses and returning to the present moment and a heart brimful of contentment, how that tendency to be always flowing outward and looking for completion and fulfillment outside of the present moment in the world, how that ceases to be, how that movement sort of collapses when the heart experiences peace and contentment. The cultivation of what the Buddha calls kusala, or kusala dhammas, wholesome qualities, things like kindness and compassion and generosity and virtue. These go a long way to starve the kind of habits of discontent from their critical nutriment. These go a long way towards bringing us closer back to home. And if you look at the progression of the meditative mind, there's many places in the Sutta where the Buddha is pointing to sort of having a wholesome store of kusala, or merit, and being strong and endowed in wholesome qualities of mind, how much easier it is with that basis of happiness and joy for the mind to move to tranquility and concentration. So it's this discontent that keeps the mind spinning around and seeking kind of fresh delights here and there in the world. And it's the kusala that then starts to eliminate the engine of dukkha, the engine of discontent. Kusala dhammas can take us a long ways, maybe not all the way though. And the meditative experience plays a real central role in a further cultivation and deepening sort of experience of a mind absent discontent. Somewhat because it gives us just something that is so directly anchored in the present moment and the here and now, and many of the objects of meditation are just very neutral, not so bound up with thoughts of the world and wholeheartedly sort of engaging those, we have a chance for the obsessions of the world and the discontent of the world to sort of melt away. Akin to sort of how we lose ourselves sometimes in a very in our hobbies or in some sort of passionate sort of activity. Something that wholeheartedly sort of captures us and brings us into the present moment has something of that quality. Meditation takes it much, much further. So developing a sensitivity and awareness of this, because I think a lot of discontent goes unrecognized and unnoticed. Not just through an examination of the mind as we sit down to engage in our meditation, but also as we move through the day. A kind of conscious practice of cultivating contentment and gratitude, and strengthening our emotional aptitude to return to that again and again, and develop the sensitivity to sort of notice the things that undermine that. And bring them to resolve. In a lucid, sort of still moment, you can just see how discontent starts to propel the mind sort of outwards, and how contentment sort of brings it back home to the present moment. And just like learning to be sensitive to and responsive to those dynamics is, I think, a great way to sort of connect with this cultivation and this longer term sort of project of understanding dukkha and developing the causes and conditions to overcome it. And to not be distracted by it, or distracted by our obsessions of the world, which is difficult to do. Very difficult. Even in the act of cultivating our meditation, so much of the restlessness of the mind is fueled by a kind of unskillful reaction to the experience of dukkha. Even subtle forms of dukkha, mild discontent with the body, with things not going the way we would like, hankering for some peace or state of mind that hasn't yet arisen. It's the discontent with what is in the here and now that fuels a lot of that restlessness that obstructs the practice of developing the mind of samadhi. So a few thoughts on discontent and its relationship to dukkha this morning, and maybe an encouragement to just reflect on that today or every day if you can. And start to become sensitive enough to develop a greater sense of or greater capacity just to be conscious of the arising of discontent so that one can release it, dispel it, bring it to resolve, and in its place develop a contentment with the here and now and the present moment experience, and the skillfulness of grounding oneself in that. Eleanor gets the first question again today. Is Buddhism transcendental? Not sure if it really matters anyways. The definition of transcendental is existence or experience beyond the normal or physical level. Well, even according to that definition, I would say Buddhism is transcendental. Though you don't see that word used so much in Buddhist circles, although I use the word, but I use it in relationship to transcending dukkha. Because in Buddhist cosmology, the reason why existence is, at least the existence that we know, threaded with dukkha, is because that dukkha has not yet been transcended or fully resolved. So with the ceasing of dukkha, one transcends. Can the sensation of the whole body be used as an object to lead to jhāna? Yeah, I believe so. I mean, if you look at the suttas, there's many objects of meditation that occur in the various suttas and the various stories embedded in the suttas. Some of them are recognized as formal objects of meditation and some are not. And sensations of the whole body, I mean, part of the path of the mind moving towards a deep state of concentration is this kind of expanding, sort of boundless sort of conscious experience. And if you look at some of the various teachers and the way they talk about various meditations developing towards jhāna, they often talk about whole body sensation. So one example would be teachings on breath meditation from Ajahn Sudanto, but also other teachers, where they're talking about sensing the breath in the whole body. And so, like, that is one way to experience the whole body, is by cultivating certain type of breath consciousness. But my sort of answer is a little bit more simple. Like I think many things can be used as an object leading to jhāna. Remember, so much of the cultivation of jhāna is like overcoming the 5 hindrances. And when the hindrances are overcome, then there's a possibility for the mind just to move into this kind of heightened state known as the jhanas. What is the proper pronunciation of name tassa bhagavato Oh, I see. So this is the homage to the Buddha chant. I think there's some typos in there, Kari. But I think what you're looking for is Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So just two quick pointers on Pali pronunciation. One is to pay attention to long and short vowels. We're very indistinct about our use of vowels in the English language, but in Pali, most of the vowels are either short or long. So there's like an o and an o. There's a and a ah. So, and the long form is about twice as long as the short form. So pay attention to that. That'll help with the pronunciation. And the other is to pronounce double consonants. So samma sambuddhassa, you pronounce both M's and both D's and both S's. The two D's, by the way, are a hard D and then an aspirated D. So samma sambuddhassa. Dassa. And oftentimes when you have these two double consonants, there's a little bit of a stop that it creates. So samma sambuddhassa. Samma sambuddhassa. So Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. All right, you got that 3 times there. Ajahn, in the Suttas, the Buddha talks about the application of the will. Can you talk about this concept of the will? Thank you. It'd be good to have a reference for that, because different translators have slightly different terminology for some of the Pali terms that they're translating. And I'm not exactly sure what word that's translating there, application of the will. Although there's a lot of emphasis on putting forth effort and developing sort of chanda, a kind of wholesome desire to put forth effort. So I think maybe the best way to sort of unpack sort of what the Buddha might be talking about, application of the will, would be to sort of look to the model that's there in the 4 right efforts, which is the foundation of mental cultivation, but it applies broadly to the whole cultivation of the Buddha's Eightfold Path and the cultivation of wholesome states of mind and skillful dhammas. So the Buddha does not praise just acquiescing to unwholesome states of mind, be it unwholesome thoughts, speech, or action. If one catches oneself engaging in something, one should apply their will or apply energy to stop, to bring that to resolve, to abandon that. And furthermore, one should apply will and effort to support wholesome states of mind that have arisen. And then one should sow the seeds and do the things that they know will help in the non-arising of unwholesome states in the future and an increase in wholesome states in the future. So, this is what I would kind of point to give a little more definition to the application of will. absent any kind of clear reference in your question there. So, okay, well, it is 8:30, so I'm going to leave it at that for today, friends. I see some other kind of questions and a back and forth there about other things. Have a good weekend, and may you be successful in recognizing and dispelling all discontent and replacing it with kusala dhammas and lucid, wholehearted experiences of equanimity and contentment. And moreover, understand how that kind of relates to the habits of suffering. Part of the reason I'm so bullish on our ability to overcome suffering is because it seems so obvious that we're the ones creating it. And if you're the one creating it, you're also the one that can stop and resolve it. Not an easy task, but so doable and so worthwhile. So be well, friends, and I will either see you in our morning chanting and meditation tomorrow and Sunday or next Monday. So bye for now.